A very good morning to you. It's K24 This Morning, 8 on the nose. So, of course, you know right here on the show, you look at the big stories of the day, look at our dailies and see what they're waking up to as well. And, of course, a pertinent conversation we're having here, even as people unpack the second draft of the BBI report and look at really what is in this particular document. We want you to read it as well. It was a resounding call, even at Bomas. Jisome, understand it from there, interrogate it and ask the questions you feel need to be asked. And that's why we love it when you're part of this particular conversation. My name is Jeff Mote. Welcome aboard the show. Of course, as always, our big question today, of course, talking about the BBI and the governance question. These positions that we are seeing, we've heard, these, titles being bandied about. Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. Really, where does this stand even as we move forward? That's a question that we'll be talking about right here on the show. We'll be looking at our dailies as well, on the front pages on each of our dailies, see what we're waking up to this morning. Start off with the front page of the PD. BBI focus turns to collection of 1 million signatures. So, of course, train has indeed left the station, and the PD just emphasizing that. Leaders say that after Monday's launch at Bomas, they are now working to get Kenyans endorse the report in readiness for approval by county assemblies. So it has moved forward on that. As you can see, John Badi, Amos Kimunya, who will really be at the helm as far as that particular process is concerned as well. As you look at that, also a keen eye, not only on what's happening politically and governance-wise, but also on the health docket and how they're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Businesses reopen, but infections rise. 1 month after President Kenyatta eased the COVID-19 restrictions, the results are a mixed bag. The economy is healing, but the virus is unrelenting. As of yesterday, 50,833 cases testing positive. This, of course, is the total caseload across the country. We're looking at 934 deaths. Of course, this is the cumulative number as of yesterday at this particular point. And health experts talking about this being the second wave that's coming in. And, of course, urging people to follow the Ministry of Health guidelines in terms of social distancing, sanitizing, of course, on that particular one, and wearing a mask even as we move about. You get the details of that particular story on page 6 of your People Daily today. And even as we look at that, why President's Health Pet Project is on its deathbed. Now more than ever, you really need universal health coverage to be working out as well and devolving this particular health function to the counties as well. It's been a key issue of concern, and why it's on its deathbed now of all times. You can get that story on page 8 of your People Daily. Looking at matters across the region, Tanzania blocks internet on voting day. Magufuli looks set to retain his seat on the back of a strong economy, but opposition candidate Tundu Lissu has put up a strong fight amid claims of clampdown. Tanzania decides. You can get the details of that particular story in your copy of your People Daily. That story is on page 19. Don't forget, you can get yourself a copy of your People Daily straight to your phone. You don't have to leave your home if you're getting us from there, or your office. The number that you dial is *550 *4#. Once again, the number *550 *4#. Dial it and get yourself a copy of your People Daily straight to your phone. It's brought to you by the People Daily and Safaricom. Let's look at the front page of the Daily Nation now. Uhuru Raila rush to kill BBI rebellion. Disquiet in the Senate and among various key constituents forces President Kenyatta and his handshake partner, ODM leader Raila Odinga, to convene an urgent retreat in Naivasha for select senators and members of the National Assembly this weekend to iron out contentious proposals in the Building Bridges Initiative report. So, of course, consensus building taking place right now. As you can see that, front page of the Daily Nation, key people of interest moving this particular document forward. They're calling them the regional BBI champions. From Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Governor Hassan Joho, KANU National Chairman Gideon Moi. We have Interior CS Fred Matiang'i also in there. Senate Majority Whip Irongo Kangata, Siaya Senator James Orengo, all having been identified to play key roles in terms of their regions and championing the forwarding of this particular document right there. You can get the details of that in your copy of your Daily Nation as well. As we look at that, of course, all dailies looking at the front, looking at their front pages, we'll talk about the BBI, but also be looking at COVID-19 and the steep increase in the number of cases that we've seen so far. Same on the front page of the Daily Nation. COVID-19 waiting to explode. Infections are ravaging communities in counties. Hospitals are overflowing with patients, and health workers are down, limping or shaken as the pandemic marches on undeterred. How do they bring this to a point where they can actually control this particular pandemic? Is a story that you can get, and the details of that are on page 10 of your Daily Nation this morning. Front page of the Standard now. Eyes on Uhuru and Raila. Leaders turn to President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga on the way forward after Boma's meeting ended with no clear roadmap. Parliamentary leadership plans retreat to build consensus. Debate rages on timing for referendum. And legal experts are split on timelines to mount constitutional changes. This story can be found on page 6, 7, and 8 of your Standard this morning. And even as you look at that, Kenyan brands cause a stir on global stage. Clothing lines by local celebrities causing some interest on the global market scene as well. So some good news right there, even as we move forward. And again, as I told you, every single day we can see the front pages of our dailies. They look at matters politics, but also can't ignore the health implications that we're having with COVID-19. On the front page of the Standard now, COVID will age your brain by 10 years. Patients recovering from coronavirus will have significant mental decline equivalent to the brain aging by a decade, says a new study by Imperial College in London. You can get the details of that particular story and the findings from that research by the Imperial College on page 4 of your Standard this morning. Finally, front page of the Star, Uhuru and Raila headache over BBI consensus, calls for an uncontested referendum, dominated speeches in Bomas. You can get the details of that on page 4 and 5. Allies of Big Two caution against opening report for changes. So by and large, it seems like this one could be cast in stone. I'll be talking to my panel as well to see if there can be any additions or retractions made from the document as has been presented. But you can get the details of that in your copy of your Star. That story is indeed front and center there. And even as we talk about that, today we are keeping a keen eye on governance, the executive, and the changes that have been mooted by the document. And at the end of the day, what that means for you in terms of service delivery by the government that you put in place, that's a conversation we'll be having right here on the show. Welcome aboard. This is K24 This Morning. Welcome back. Before I get to my panel, we also have our question of the day that we'll be posing to you. We love your feedback even as you bring it in as far as this is concerned. Let's have that up on screen. Will an expanded government serve you better? That's what we want to know right now. Will an expanded government serve you better? Because at the end of the day, it's all about service delivery at this particular point in time. So once again, will an expanded government serve you better? The WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen. You can also get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. Will an expanded government serve you better? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Get your feedback on that at the WhatsApp number, always at the bottom of the screen. Let's get to the conversation right here. Get to my panel in studio, joined by Kitutu Chache MP, Honorable Richard Nyonka. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome
Morning,
to the show.
Jeff. How are you?
Karibu sana.
I'm sorry last time I didn't come, but I paid my price today.
Right. It's a good thing that you're here. You're also missing in action. I didn't see you on the Jerusalem dance. I saw Honorable Sankok. Yeah, you are missing in action.
No, but you see, the dance was, they represented us ably.
Okay.
Can you imagine having 300 people?
Right. Doing the Jerusalem.
Even the choreography would not fit. So some of us
chose to sit it out.
Chose to sit it out.
Okay.
And they did a good job.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Also joined by Honorable Ole Sankok. Good morning.
Morning.
You've been a busy man. We've seen you in several spaces.
Yes.
How's it been so far?
I'm always okay.
Yeah.
Jerusalem dance was very good.
Yes.
I really danced. I really enjoyed.
Right.
Even my broken leg was actually flying on the air. You know, there is ability beyond disability.
Absolutely.
And because it was bringing Kenyans together. Now, true inclusivity.
Right.
And true bringing Kenya together. Who are from all tribes, who are from all parties. In fact, I danced with Millie Odhiambo. But I didn't want to be close to her because she was very nice in dancing. So I went closer to Danita Gatti, who was on a wheelchair. But it was enjoyable.
Right, and indeed, very many people did actually watch that, and it amused very many Kenyans. Yes. Join the conversation virtually, we have Millie Lwanga. She's a governance expert. Good morning, Millie.
Good morning.
Karibu sana, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I want us to just get right off on this one and start with the story that we're seeing right here. As we talk about the BBI report, the second draft that has been put out there, Sankok, right after it was launched, people living with disabilities called a presser, spoke about the fact that as we talk about inclusivity, we've been left out.
Not after launch. Before we went to Bomas. Before they went to Bomas, because personally, I was a bit wary. You know, when they said it's a snake, I may not really live comfortably with a snake. And you know, those who can live with snakes are probably sorcerers. So we went and we talked with all persons with disabilities. You know, I have the largest constituency in the country, representing 6.5 million Kenyans with disability. But I have a way of communicating to all of them, and I sent signals to all of them. We read the draft within 1 day after being launched in Nyamira. And then after that, we saw that there is nothing for persons with disability, completely nothing for persons with disability. Throughout the world, we know there are 3 affirmative action groups. That is women, youth, and persons with disability. Women have been mentioned. They have been reserved their slots where there is no other competitor apart from a woman, because we will be electing 47 of them to the Senate. We also knew that if a man is a governor, then the deputy will be a woman. So there are slots that are specific for them. For persons with disability, no mention about in fact, there was a scrubbing of the nomination slots. And our proposal was that we need these slots for representation, because nothing about us without us. But we need an electoral college in which persons with disability elect their own representative, so that they are not being picked by political parties. Because today, I am pressed between a rock and a hard place, whether to represent persons with disability or to represent my nominating party.
Right.
And in 2022, I had already announced even here that I will not seek any political seat. I will retire from politics voluntarily. But I need whoever will come after me will have the mandate given by fellow persons with disability. It is not there. It was scrapped completely.
What's the course of action now that it's not there? Because we've
the
had
course of action I've given them, and I've given them a signal that within 2 weeks, if there is no inclusion of persons with disability in the BBI, we will first of all hold countrywide demonstration against BBI. And you know, our demonstration is not like yours. We'll come with our wheelchairs, we'll come with our crutches, tuone askari mwenye ataturushia tear gas, because some of us living with disability, it is not a holiday to live with a disability. Some of us may even need who are not able to commit suicide. Some of us want kuja na risasi. And secondly, if the BBI goes to the ballot box in this manner, all persons with disability and our friends, our relatives, and our parents and our spouses, we will reject this BBI.
Onyonka, I'll have you in on this one, because by and large, from the sentiments that we are getting from those in key positions as far as the BBI is concerned, it seems like it's almost cast in stone with what we have with this particular report. When we hear the position that has been taken by Sankok, which is understandable, what do you feel is the way forward when this document lands in the environment that it's in? How do they move this forward and build this consensus that they're trying to make?
Thank you, Jeff. First, I would like to agree with my brother Sankok. I think there are certain fundamental issues and questions which have come out of the BBI report. The only part I disagree with him is that, knowing him, he's a very harmless, very wonderful friend of mine in Parliament and all that. I really wouldn't want us to start giving ultimatums to what the BBI team is trying to do. Let's have a conversation. Like you see, he has raised really fundamental issues on people with disabilities. Number one, he's asking the question, shouldn't we look at their situation in terms of them having an electoral college arrangement within our constitution, so that people with disability are fully represented by themselves, so that it doesn't have to be told, don't say this or don't say that, because the issues which they're raising are very fundamental. Number two, Jeff, I don't think this is the final draft on this matter. This was basically a guideline. That is how I've understood it. And I listened to Uhuru speak very carefully at Bomas. What he has said is, yes, we have certain issues which are going to be brought out, and these issues are very, very critical. I'll give you an example, off the cuff, off the mark. Look at the issue of the 35%, which nobody's talking about. To me, the 35%, in fact, the money that is being added to this document, which is going to create a clearly stated amount. Right now, it tells you can't give below a certain amount. But it's going to say the clear amount of money that you're going to do is the audited accounts, 35% of that. But you see, there's something that has been introduced which is called the Ward Development Fund. Right. To me, the extra money that is being brought in, which is going to be about 20% from what it is right now, should go directly to the ward. So the argument of somebody saying that, no, we are going to bring the Ward Development Fund, but it's only going to be 5% of the money that the governor receives is a lot of nonsense.
Right.
The problem you have today about devolution, for me, is not even the government not releasing the money, because the money has always been given. The counties have received more than 1 trillion shillings in the last 10 years. The problem is that when the money arrives and it is in the governor's office, actually the way it is right now, it is the governor who decides where that money goes. Contrary to CDF, when the money comes, it comes to a CDF account. There is a committee which does a budget, and the money has got certain guidelines on how you spend it. There's money which goes to bursaries, there's money which goes to schools, building of classrooms, there's money which goes into administration and provision of security. These are very fundamental things which are stated. So what we are saying, let us not cheat ourselves that if you are going to give a ward 5% of the money that is going to come from, already the governors are running the counties anyway.
Okay.
And they're using 15%.
Right.
The balance of 20% that is going to be added should go down to the ward. Let it not remain in the governor's office, so that the MCA now can play his oversight role so that he can actually manage this money. Number two, it is not clear, and I know many people have raised the issue about what happens in terms of, yes, you're going to introduce the Prime Minister and you're going to have his 2 deputies. Many of the members of the county assembly and people at the county governments are actually asking, is that going to be cascaded downwards? In other words, if you're going to have a leader of the opposition at the national level, it is right.
Yes.
We should also have a leader of the opposition at the county level.
And a prime governor.
And a prime, exactly. Governor. Where you have a prime minister, if you're going to have a prime minister at the national level, and BBI has not been clear about that. They've left it in a gray area.
Right.
And these are the issues. And the issue of creating the presidency, which is going to be imperial, and those things need to be discussed. The only hope I have, and personally the request I'm making, to the leadership of this country. This includes us as members of parliament. That includes the leadership. You're talking about the president. You're talking about the deputy president. You're talking about Raila, Musalia, Wetangula, all these people, Kalonzo Musyoka, all these national, and many other, even including all the governors. Is it possible that we can actually discuss this matter and come to a consensus? Okay. The reason, finally, for me, Jeff, is very simple. The truth is, whether we agree or not, our country is broken. Why do I say our country is broken, Mheshimiwa Sankok? Jubilee won the elections. You have the presidency, which is managed by President Uhuru. You have the deputy president who runs the other side of Jubilee. They had a post-election agreement, which told them, once this thing has been, the cow has been slaughtered, you take everything. Look at the appointments of jobs. Look at the national distribution of national resources. And you can't question them. They are not creating an illegality. What they are doing is actually what the Constitution allows them to do. The point we need to start asking ourselves, how do we bring ourselves together? How do we become realistic to our socio-political, tribal fears and solve these problems by coming up and agreeing to create a government that is inclusive? Okay,
I want to get Millie in on this one as well. Honorable Sankok, let me just get Millie in quickly on this one as well. Millie, as we're talking about this, moving this conversation forward, looking at a scenario where, as many Kenyans are asking, and it's been raised over and over again, with this cabinet as constituted, this government as it has been constituted, when we speak about having a prime minister and a deputy prime minister, why do I need that as a regular Kenyan? We can get why politically it makes sense for those who probably get that position. But for the Kenyan at the end of the day, what does this mean for them and their general, delivery of service? Millie, you've muted your audio. If you could unmute your audio, please.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Sorry. I was saying that one of the things that we need to be very careful about as Kenyans, as we read this document, is that we must not read it from a perspective of where we want to critique, because we are not asked to critique it. We are being asked to be able to improve it, understand it. Those are the two things. Now, one of the things that Kenyans said, from what the report has captured, that they felt were marginalized largely. And when you look at the groups that they were marginalized, it's an amazing array of people, expanded from what the current constitution says, because those who feel excluded are those that are underserved, which means they feel that the county governments or the resources are not reaching as much as they are other sectors of the country. There are those who have been historically marginalized, whom we already have in the current constitution. We have the poor. We have the PWDs. We have the youth, women, girls, and even the aged. We know that some of these categories of people, we've had persons speaking loudly for them. So we are already aware that they are marginalized communities. But there are those like the elders, other than Reverend Joya. We don't hear many other people speaking for this category of persons. But this report is at least that plus. Now, another thing that we need to be able to look at very carefully is that when it comes to inclusivity, there are aspects of it. Dealing with inclusivity, the BBI report proposes certain national and county proposals. At the national level, there is that issue that they also, when they're dealing with divisive elections, where they're asking that you expand the executive to be able to increase the space for inclusion at that echelon of governance, so that more communities, of course it can never be all, but more groups, more marginalized groups can be able to feel that they are represented at that echelon. Now, when it comes against national level, they're looking at revamping public service so that the hiring and the distribution of communities within public service is going to be more reflective of the national agenda, so that we feel it is justified to use our resources, our taxes, to have a public service in place. Now, when it comes to the county level, then again it's looking at ensuring, including with the word proposed word fund, ensuring that people are able to incubate and grow from that level. So inclusivity is addressed at all those levels. That is how inclusivity is addressed. And visive election is where they are talking about funding the executive and also bringing in the opposition leader. And we can only understand things from history. If you imagine that if Honorable Raila would have been leader of opposition in Bunge right from 2013, the problems we've had of people asking that there is no opposition, where is the voice, and why is he speaking from outside, why is he controlling Bunge? All these questions would not be there, because he would be able to do it when that is used as an example.
Okay,
so I think that we need to look at all this holistically, even as we see whether it has actually adequately addressed the issue of inclusivity or not. Okay.
Sanko, going to come to you. We have 3 minutes as we get to our first break. Already Onyonka has said probably the line you're taking is a bit too hard in terms of the action that will be taken. If not, we've also heard from Amos Kimunya, because he said as a party, for those who feel that this document probably isn't what they want, please, the door is open. You can always leave. What's your take on that?
No, first of all, let me support my brother Richard. He have always been debating soberly and from a very independent point, and that is what I want to stand with. Because, yes, we are talking about inclusivity. In a political democracy where it is a competition, you are saying there will be no loser. Everybody will be a winner. What are you trying to tell us? Why do you use billions of shillings to go for a competition that there is no loser or winner? Why don't you just sit in the table like me and Onyoka here and distribute the seats among ourselves? Why do we have to have such a very big expense? Again, you are saying, let us include, let us bring inclusivity by including 5 tribes at the apex of leadership, excluding 37. Is that really inclusivity or exclusivity?
The counter argument to that,
Sanko, me to understand that excluding 37 tribes, only including 5 is inclusivity. And
the argument with that, Sankok, is that they're trying to de-escalate the high stakes of running for presidential seat.
No, you are just now bringing about the issue of 5 big tribes combining together, having enough votes, that is almost 70% of the votes of Kenya, and doing whatever they want to do, distribute the seats among themselves, changing from prime minister to presidency, and excluding the other marginalized communities 80%. And then again, the issue of inclusivity. By sharing power with the president, the prime minister will be in place. What about who will share power with the governor? Who will win and take all the leadership baton? Do we now have the prime governor, prime MCA, prime women rep, prime member of parliament? Because why do you say the loser in a presidential election should not just go like that? And we are saying the thousands of other losers along the electoral line will have to go to the bush. What do you mean by that?
Okay, let's get a rejoinder from Onyonka on that.
Thank you, Jeff. I want to, again, disagree with my honorable member here. This thing is not about taking winners and after they have won the elections, you distribute positions after the elections. That is the misrepresentation. In fact, unfortunately, I find it sad that that is how people are interpreting the scenario. What we are saying is this. As I read this document, and I've said I've got certain things which I disagree with it. What I see is this. Kenya is the only country in Africa where a member amongst the few, not only country, I correct myself. Kenya is a country where members of the opposition, after losing an election, they go home. And yet, in reality, you then tell us that we in the opposition have not had an opportunity to check on the government because we have failed in our activity. Where do you check a government when funds are being stolen? You check a government when it's in parliament, on the floor of the house. You check a government when there's misappropriation of resources, when you are employing people, when the government is employing people who are not qualified, when all the malfeasance which comes up with bad governance, you counter that government in the house so that then you can actually have investigations done where you can take the Auditor General's report and do that. The problem that you have in Kenya is this. Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, because he went to the Senate, and Musalia Mudavadi are all at home.
But we do have an independent parliament that should be playing the check role.
No, let me finish.
Just a minute.
Just 1 second, Sankok. Sankok, please.
The president is represented by the majority leader.
Sankok. Honorable Sankok, we'll let you speak, Sankok, so let Onyonka finish, please.
No problem.
Onyonka, we have 30 seconds before we get to our break.
Thank you. What I am saying is very simple. The question of inclusivity means allow elections to take place, but accommodate the losers like it happens in America. Bernie Sanders lost elections as a candidate who was running for the presidency. He's back in the Senate. He's still criticizing Donald Trump. You have to agree that we can't have a country where people who lose elections, are you with me, are thrown away. They have no capacity, they have no ability to counter and check what the government excesses.
Let's take a short break at that particular point in time. Of course, we want to hear from you as well. Even as we move forward, the political realities of the day and what happens after the elections is a key point of concern, even as we look at what happens in the structure of governance of the country. We'll have that question of the day that we'll be posing to you after the break. Don't forget, you can get yourself a copy of your PD. It's only 10 shillings, the number that you dial, *550*4#. Once again, it's *550*4#. Get yourself a copy of your PD, brought to you by the PD and Safaricom. Short break, back with more.